Hi, and welcome to this first episode in the series on Xcode 4. Xcode 4 was released yesterday, I believe, and is fairly anticipated and overdue, in my opinion. Um, it does bring some really cool features to Xcode that a lot of people have been asking for quite some time. Today's video will only be a brief overview and maybe a few specifics, but I'll try and keep it short. Following videos will be more specific and concentrate in certain areas that you might be interested in. The first thing I want to talk about today is the documentation that comes with Xcode. I don't know if people just don't know about this, or they know about it and don't care, or don't realize how thorough the documentation is. But the documentation that comes with Xcode is really good, thorough, has pretty pictures if you don't like reading all that much. So I would suggest if you ever have a problem, go directly here. Chances are it'll answer all your questions very clearly and concisely. One of the cool features is if you click on these tabs, you can go to a specific concept that you want to learn about or have a question about. If you want to know something about the IDE, for example, I don't know, let's see. Want to know about breakpoints navigation. You can share and whatnot, and this will take you directly to something. And as you can see, it has pictures of the actual forms that you need to fill out and so on. So I recommend that you go and make use of that. The documentation is in the organizer view, and the organizer view also has tabs for your devices, your repositories, projects, and archives. I believe the archives are snapshots, but I'm not sure. I have to check out on that. And the others are pretty self-explanatory. What I'd like to do today is just make a little sample project and then just talk about the obvious differences between Xcode 3 and Xcode 4. Project creation is still very much alike. Let's call this test. With one main difference is you'll see there's now a tab where you can create a local Git repository. Xcode 4 now integrates Git. A lot of people are very happy about that, and I've played around with it a little bit, and I must say it's really done well. Xcode 3 did have SVN, I believe, but it wasn't. It was iffy. There were just some instances that it just ticked you off more than anything else. Let's just. Don't want to create a Git repository. I will go over a later episode in that. As you can see, when it starts up, the build settings used to be in a view all on its own. Now everything's integrated. One thing that Xcode 4 does is make a more unifying experience. In some cases, it doesn't work so well, but overall, I think it's pretty nice. One thing that I would like to show you in this video is, let's create a new file. One thing that I really enjoyed from Xcode 4 is the split pane support it had. It was done really well. And when I got this, it's the first thing I looked for, and there used to be a little button up here that you could either click or option click, which would split horizontally and vertically respectively, but I couldn't find that, and I was like, oh, what's going on? I right clicked and saw open an adjacent editor, and I saw this, and I was like, okay, well, it's just a different way to get there, but and I could click this and get more split panes. But I noticed that even if I focus on this and click on this, it would always change here, and I couldn't understand that. And specifically when I clicked main.cpp, it would say no assistant results. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Well, what it turns out, it's actually pretty cool. You have these settings or tabs or whatever, and let's just put it on counterparts. If you now click on, say, the source file of test, it'll open up the header file automatically for you, which is really what I used split panes for 90% of the time. So I thought that's really cool that it does that for me, because I used to have to always manually navigate, click this one for the source and this one for the header, and that was kind of annoying. And I haven't tested out the siblings, subclasses, and all that, and I'm quite excited to see how they handle the superclasses and subclasses, and I think now that they use the LLVM compiler suite, that'll work pretty nice. But yeah, that's a pretty cool feature. And then also it has this version view that's pretty cool, and your console and debugger is at the bottom now, which is pretty nice. In Xcode 3 you had to open that manually, and it has this, I'm not sure what this is called, info or view or something like that. I haven't looked too much at that, but it may come in handy when you actually have Objective-C stuff or nibs or something like that that might be a little bit more complex. Let's quickly go over the preference tab. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory. Some of the things are new, which I haven't looked completely at, but just know that they are here. One thing I'd suggest is go look at text editing. I always have my line numbers ticked. That's not on by default. It's something that I enjoy having just as a reference. And also it defaults to spaces. Some people prefer that. Sometimes spaces are better if you have lots of people working on the same source that are on different operating systems, different editors, and so on. But I prefer tabs and with the 4, so this is where you'd find it. And another cool thing that Xcode4 does that I think a lot of people moaned about was the build locations. Basically, Xcode 3 by default put all the intermediate build files and the products or executables in the project directory, and what ended up happening is that you would have this giant folder. It would be in some cases 14 meg or something, just for a simple Hello World application. What it does now is it takes all the build stuff and puts it in a separate location. So if you ever want to transport your project file, it's as small as it can get. It's just the project file and the source. So I think that's quite a big step up. I think that's most of the stuff I'd like to talk about today. But please, if there's anything specific that you would like to see how it's done in Xcode, send me a request. I'd be more than happy to help out. But I'll probably make a few videos of some of the stuff that I just find useful for me, that I think might be useful to others that might not be intuitive. But thank you for watching, and see you guys soon. Bye.